Hi, my name is Jared. I met Keith in a podcast group on Facebook about a week ago, and we both learned we lived in Indiana. I'm in the southern part. He's up in the northern part. Uh, he was asking if people wanted to do a podcast on anxiety and depression and how it's affected your life. And if anyone wanted to be kind of a voice for mental health awareness and the voice for the voiceless type of deal. And I immediately commented, bang, send it, because I wanted to be a part of this. And we friended each other on Facebook, exchanged a couple messages. If anybody should be an advocate or a part for mental health awareness, it should be me, solely based on the last 2.5 years of my life. It was becoming ever more apparent that my marriage was falling apart. My ex-wife and I had 3 children. We had just had a newborn too, who was born earlier that spring. I place probably 80% of my marriage failing on myself. A lot of people say it's 50-50, and maybe it is, but at the end of the day, I'm the guy that's going to take the responsibility. It's not important what happened. I'll never say anything bad about her. She's the mother of my children. She gave me 3 beautiful children. But we were working on some things, and I had a lot of pressure on myself. I was working 12-hour shifts. I was working 60 hours a week trying to keep a roof over our heads. It was easier financially for her to stay home with the kids instead of paying child care. So finances, like most marriages that fail, finances played a big part in it. There was also other things. And basically, it all came to a head around New Year's of 2019. And at that time, we tried to give one more good hard go at it. And then some information was exchanged between both of us during a long conversation one night that turned the tides and flipped the switch to it pretty much being over. And on February 4th of 2019, a Monday evening, the day after the Super Bowl, the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl, I attempted suicide. In a bad way. It was a big ordeal. There was city, county, and Indiana State Police all at the house. It was a humongous ordeal. I don't remember that night. My memory of that day is clear until about 5 p.m. And after that, it becomes blurry. Some parts of that night and what occurred, I do still remember. Other parts, I can't. I was told that it was a trauma and, the body's way just trying to suppress it. I may never remember it, which is a really messed up thing because I think about that day. If I don't think about it daily, I think about it every few days or at least once a week. I still, to this day, a little over 2 years later, still try to think about and remember the parts of that night that I can't. I was taken by an ISP trooper who I went to school with. He was my best friend from kindergarten up until high school, maybe junior high, and then he kind of went one direction as kids do, and I went the other. But he took me to the hospital. He stayed with me. He's probably not supposed to. He stayed with me until the end of his shift. I think, best of my memory, we got there 8 or 9 o'clock that night, and he was there with me until 4 a.m. when they checked me in on the psych ward floor, I guess. I don't know, whatever, the 4th floor at our local hospital. I was put on a 72-hour hold. Uh, I don't remember this, but apparently I tried to commit suicide again while I was in that room, which for those of you who have never been in a room like this, they pretty much take every possible thing out of the room for you to hurt yourself. So, but a determined person is a determined person. And I think they had said I had been in there 2 or 3 hours and had tried to commit suicide again. So at that point, basically my first 24 hours, I was restrained to a bed. I refused to be cathetered. I kicked the living daylights out of a nice woman. They fought with me, and finally, I guess they gave up. I wasn't cathetered, but you talk about a humiliating, humbling experience to have someone help you relieve yourself into the equivalent of a pee jug because you refuse to be cathetered and you're restrained to a bed. It's pretty humiliating. The next day while I was in there, I was served with a protective order, an EPO. I was not allowed to go to my house, which was solely in my name. I was not allowed to see my children. I was not allowed to talk to my children. I was not allowed to talk to my, now ex-wife. I wasn't allowed to go to the school functions. My son had a Cub Scout thing that weekend. I wasn't allowed to go there. I couldn't do anything. I was told if I am pumping gas at a gas station in town and my children show up and my children start running to me, I have to get in the car and drive away, because if I make contact with them, I will be arrested and charged with breaking a protective order. And the ironic thing, that was day 2 of the 72-hour cycle, and I think I wanted to die more that day than I had did the day before. I was released on the 3rd day, and I ended up staying with my grandparents. I couldn't stay with my parents. They lived quite a bit of ways from where I was working. I had to travel about an hour to work every day. That the staying with them would have made it an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes one way on a 12-hour shift, and then another hour and 45 back. So I stayed with my grandparents. I was sleeping on an army cot in the middle of their living room. Humiliating, lowest point of my life. I was going into therapy and counseling, having somebody to talk to, which was good because I definitely needed somebody to talk to. Eventually, after 6 weeks, the protective order got dropped. During this time, though, I finally got served divorce papers. But the protective order got dropped. I could see the kids, and after 2 or 3 months, I left my grandparents and came back home, which was good for my mental health. And her and I gave a really good effort to try on things. And there was some moments where we thought it was going to make it work. And then I like to say a lot of times that she just stopped meeting me halfway. Maybe she did. I know I was trying. I mean, I still had moments where, things would be hard on me. But we made a good effort, and then in the end, we just decided what was best was to go our separate ways. Part of me is always going to love her. So I was in a pretty bad state. And then a couple months later, September of 2019, I lost my job after 10 years of employment. I had suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns for this company on year 6, year 5. I gave a lot to this organization. It's all I've known how to do. It's what I've loved to do. I love the kind of looks people give me when they know I work at a place. I worked at a steel mill, basically an iron foundry, making cast iron parts, real high paying job, real dangerous job, high heat. I got 2,600 degree molten iron just a few feet above me and a few feet behind me. But they let me go after 10 years. I was told, you're a good employee. You're not in the right frame of mind. And it was my personal life. It was things going on. I just couldn't leave my problems at the time clock. It was hard for me to put them behind me. So, they're like, "Hey, you're a good fit. You're just not a good fit right now. You're a danger to yourself and others." And I literally use the phrase all the time that I was stepping all over myself and tripping over my own feet. I just couldn't, literally, figuratively, I couldn't get out of my own way. The last 4 months I was employed there, I never said this before, I was actively looking for another job because uh, I just thought I needed to change because my mental health was affecting me so much. My quality at work had went down there. My give a damn had definitely broke. I was getting a little combative with coworkers and not like I'm up in faces having a fight, but you could just, it was a different me. Everything on the inside was being ripped apart, and I was eating myself away from the inside, the stress and the anxiety. And I think it was a matter of time before I had either got frustrated and walked out the door, or they showed me the door. And unfortunately, they showed me the door first. It's just funny. I could see what was probably coming, even though I tried to stop it, and I couldn't. And it was at that point when I lost my job, I had made the decision that I was going to try again, and I would succeed this time. I had it planned out, and the ironic thing, when I lost my job, though, the very first person I called was my best friend. I didn't call, my ex-wife. I didn't call anybody other than my best friend, who owned his own construction company. And he said, you're just going to come out on the road with me. He said, I'm getting ready to go to Tennessee. I've got a job to do in Tennessee. I'll be gone about 6 weeks. You're going to come with me. And I said, no. And he basically, it equated to, get your stuff. I'm coming to get you. We're going to Tennessee. Because he could see what was coming. And that was good for my mental health there. I was only 3 hours away from home, but it gave me a chance to seriously hit a reset button, which I needed. Obviously, I was in Tennessee. I couldn't talk to my counselor, therapist lady. I I had ended up meeting a girl on Bumble. I think at the time I was on Bumble, I was more or less just looking for somebody to talk to, and this girl was local, about an hour away from where I lived. So we were talking the whole 2 or 3 weeks. We was in Tennessee. We came home for 4 days and then went back and did another a month to finish the job out. So when I came home those 4 days, I ended up seeing her, and there was something there, a connection I don't think I'd ever felt with the mother of my children. So I liken her to pulling me out of whatever funk I was going through. All of a sudden, it was the stars aligning. I wanted to be a better person for my children, for myself, and for her. But she made me want to be a better person. She made me want to stand up and take accountability. She made me want to face all the demons. So it was good for my mental health. The problem was, me and this girl were together about a year. Probably shouldn't have jumped into a relationship that good. She was very, very much a part of my mental health. I probably shouldn't have been in this relationship. But it felt, you feel what you feel. And we were good together. We were polar opposites, as far opposites as you can be, and a lot of respects as far as our political views and our, how, we agree with our children. I mean, she has a son, a very young son, who's only 2 months younger than my youngest, who's 3. So they're right there in age, and But anyways, we had a lot of the same interests though. And like I said, I probably shouldn't have been in this relationship. I don't know what my therapist would say because, once again, to my own ignorance, when after a couple months of us kind of hanging out, we finally became in a relationship. We were together about a year, 10 months. I had took myself off my antidepressants. I didn't really need to take my Ativan anymore. And I had stopped going to see a therapist because I thought she was Mrs. Fix-It. My favorite thing to say after we had split in September was that she fixed me just to break me all over again. And I want to share with you some wisdom about men. We lie a lot, and we hide pain, we hide mental health and whatnot. And this breakup tore me up worse than a divorce ever did. And I was not saying I was going back to the thoughts of suicide again. The thought had crossed my mind once or twice, but after what I had went through before, I learned that was not an option to go. When I tried taking my life in February of 19, I learned afterwards that once you try to end your life, you have to completely learn how to start over. You have to learn how to relive, basically. At least for me, I can't speak for nobody else but myself, because everybody grieves and everybody processes differently. With me, I had to learn how to live life over again. I had to learn to tell myself that it is okay to not be okay, that it is okay to struggle, that things happen. I completely became an advocate for mental health awareness. You know, yeah, I had to learn that it's just hard for me to talk about this some days, and other days it's not. Going back to September of this past year, the breakup with this girl, it crushed me completely. And a fun fact about me is that going back to like 2002, 2003, I would have been, 14, 15 years old. I started writing music. I started writing songs. I wrote rap songs, rock songs, country songs, gospel songs. I would write. I would write so much. I couldn't play very much guitar. I can play a handful of chords, nothing that's ever going to be a shredder. But I more was into songwriting. Wrote a little poetry back in the day. So how this deals with my mental health is, after the breakup with me and this girl, you know, I needed an outlet. And especially because this breakup, and this goes back to what I said a minute ago about we're men and we lie and we hide stuff. Most of the time when couples split up, the man will usually go, I don't know. I didn't do anything. I did nothing wrong. And that's a bold-faced lie. But with this girl, yeah, we had some differences. We never had a fight. We had one solid disagreement argument 2 months before we split. I misinterpreted a couple of text messages, and I kind of flew the coop just a little bit. Once I realized I was wrong, I apologized. I felt guilty for weeks. She was over it within hours and told me it was okay. She loved me, not to worry about it. I felt terrible. But with this girl, in talking during the breakup, the few days after, I did nothing wrong at all whatsoever. It was all about her and her battles with her depression and her anxiety. But she basically walked away. We talked for a few days after. Then came the typical, blocked on all social media. We're not speaking on speaking terms. I can't the last time I heard this woman's voice was a few days before the breakup. Everything's been text message, Facebook Messenger. That being said, I was dealing with so much, and the fact that I couldn't pinpoint if I could have just been told what I had done wrong, I would have handled it different. But the fact that it was up in the air and I was trying to I was suffering through so much. For the first 3 or 4 months until around December, January, the company I work for, I work in a manufacturing facility full time. We don't work on Fridays. We work 14-hour days through the week, off every Friday. I would sleep until like 4 p.m. on a Friday. You know, I would sleep I would struggle bus, and then I would get up on the week, that afternoon to try to do something at 4 p.m., have an hour before I went and picked my kids up from their mother, and then I would proceed to just sleep the weekend away with them there. I was in such agony. And my best friend, the same best friend that employed me, he said, why are you not writing music anymore? I'm like, dude, I haven't wrote music since like 2013. That's when I gave it up. He goes, you need to write. I kind of let it go, whatever. And then I had a bad night in October, a month after the breakup, and I woke up, the bed was sweaty wet. I was in tears. I had one of those just vicious nightmares is what I call it. She was in the dream, and I kept hearing a bunch of words in my head, and I knew that they were lyrics, and I sat down and wrote a song I called Monsterette, and I wrote the first verse. The song was done, or the first verse, was done, and then it set for about 2 weeks, and then I put a chorus and a couple more verses on it, and I have yet to play it fully on video because there's a lot of pain and misery and heartbreak in that song. Anyways, I'm rambling. The point is, my mental health is nowhere near where it should be or where I would like it to be. But I take a stand for people who are dealing with mental health issues now because everybody's got something that they're having a hard time dealing with. Everybody's got some pain and misery inside them. Others choose to talk about it. Some don't. I used to not talk about it. I was raised by my dad's, he's a real hard-noser, man. Boys don't cry. You don't talk about your feelings. You keep your feelings locked up. I'm not saying my dad didn't love me. Time and time again, he's proved he loved me. But you just don't talk about that. There's that disconnect with him. That you just, that's probably how he was raised, I would say. So I kept a lot of it locked in, but over these last couple of years, and there's been other issues. I mean, I ran through a slew where I was losing vehicles left and right. They were breaking down because I'd never buy anything new because I never had any money. So I was always holding on, shoestrings and bubble gum. And, I lost 2 or 3 vehicles in the span of about a year. Transmissions went out of 2 of them, motor blew in another one, totaled my car that I had, totaled my car out. It'll be a year ago next week. So yeah, God keeps giving me these little testers, but the point is my anxiety runs at a high level now, and I never realized that I had anxiety until that night I tried to take my life. I never realized how important mental health was until I survived trying to take my life. And like I said, it was ignorance. I will never again poke fun at anybody. And I see people poke fun at people with mental health all the time. It's not cool. It's not funny. And that needs to die. Pardon my words there. We're talking about suicide a lot, and I said the word die, but the fact that you are not allowed to express mental health awareness, that needs to die, because that is not true. And anyways, I don't know if any of this story has affected anybody listening to me ramble for however long. I don't know if anybody cares, but it was important for me to put part of my story out there without putting the whole thing. Those of you who would want to get to know me personal, I'm sure, Keith could maybe direct you to me, but I think what I said was enough to let you know that here's a guy who used to think this was nothing but a joke until it happened to him, and now he's fully aware. And I don't think the anxiety is something that'll ever go away now. I still have Ativan on a need basis. I have put myself back on my antidepressants, which has greatly impacted my mood. And I look for other outlets now. I'm still writing songs. What I thought was going to be a one-off, writing this song as a way to deal with the breakup back in October, has turned back into me being a songwriter again. I can't sing worth a lick. I've never wanted to be a singer. I just wanted to be a songwriter. I'm smart enough to know that to get a publishing deal, not a recording contract, but to get a publishing deal, I have to put my music out there to where people can see it and then help drive it into the hands of the people who can really sing. So I still write music. A lot of it's been breakup songs lately and anger songs, but it's a way for me to express my outlet. And then I've got into doing some podcasting lately. I run a podcast on my own that's deals 80 to 90% sports, and the other 10-20% things I just talk about every day at work with. I'm doing it with a coworker. So I have an outlet there, and mainly being a father. I almost orphaned, I shouldn't say orphaned, they had their mother, but I almost took away these kids' dad. My little one, if I had my suicide attempt in February 19, if it had been successful, my little one would have been 10 months old. She would have never remembered me. And now, she just turned 3 last month. I'm the ground she walks on. You should see the way, I have a unique bond with all 3 of my children, with my son and both my girls, but the bond with my youngest one, my 3-year-old, man, it's something. So the biggest outlet I'm dealing with it now is I'm just being a more of a father. I do a lot more things now with my kids than I used to. We do a lot of park days. We do a lot of s'mores in the backyard in the fire pit. These are things you should do with your children anyways, but I take it there and then up at a level because what it means to me being around them, because sometimes I don't get to see them every week. Sometimes I work 2 jobs for a living, so sometimes the part-time job kind of messes with my schedule with the kids. I'm guaranteed every other weekend, but sometimes I don't get to see them for a week or 2, whatever. So I've learned to make memories and make days count. But anyways, like I said, there's a little bit of my story. I don't know if it helps anybody, if it changes anybody or whatnot, but I hope that all you out there listening, especially the men listening to this podcast, I'm a rough, rugged country boy, like I'm sure some of you are, and it's okay to not be okay, and it's also okay to want to change things so you can be okay. But either way, it's okay. Just know that, there's people out there willing to help you. There's people you can talk to. You just have to take the first step, which is realizing you have an issue with mental health, and then you have to take the next step, which is you have to reach out and get help. So, again, my name's Jared. I appreciate you guys listening, and we'll be seeing you.